You heard our daughter say that he isn't her real dad to her friends. As a result, I'm in a tricky situation. I'm using a throwaway account on Reddit because my friends know and follow my main account. I don't know what to do. I know that coming to Reddit isn't the best idea, but I just don't know what to do. My name is Elena, I'm 37 years old, and my husband Tom is 38, and I've been married to him for about 5 years. We've known each other practically all our lives. We have 2 kids, a boy who's 15 and a girl who's 14. Tom and I grew up in the same neighborhood and went to the same schools. Our families were close, so we naturally spent a lot of time together. We started dating in college, but life took us in different directions after graduation. We reconnected several years later and it felt like fate. Our relationship moved quickly, and before we knew it, we were married. Tom is an incredible husband and father. He's always been supportive, loving and patient with me, even when I didn't deserve it. Our kids adore him, especially Mia, who's always been a daddy's girl. They share a special bond that I envied at times, despite our ups and downs. I thought we were a happy family, but my past mistakes have now caught up with me in the worst possible way. You might be wondering what I mean by past mistakes, so let me explain. A few years back, just barely a year after having our son, Tom had just lost his dad and had to take over the company as CEO. Which was a lot of work and meant he was incredibly busy as he struggled to adjust to his new role. I felt lonely and unwanted, and that was when Vince and I grew closer. Vince was and still is Tom's best friend. Vince and I had been friends for a while, but I started spending more time with him when Tom was so busy. I was going through postpartum depression and just needed someone to talk to. Vince was there for me, but we took it a little too far one night. We ended up sleeping together, and we did it a few more times without protection. After that, we had unprotected sex on a few more occasions. We'd made a promise not to tell Tom because Vince didn't want to lose his friendship or his job at Tom's company. I also didn't want to lose my husband, but then a few months later I found out I was pregnant. I was really upset because I knew there was a chance the baby could be Vince's. I thought there was a chance the baby could be Vince's, but I didn't want that to be the case. I told Tom it was his and he was happy about the pregnancy. It was a tough time for me. I felt guilty all the time, but I told myself that as long as Tom never found out, everything would be fine. I pushed those memories to the back of my mind and focused on being a good wife and mother. Tom was thrilled to have a daughter, and Mia brought so much joy to our family. Seeing him with her made me feel even more guilty, but I kept my secret hoping it would never come to light. I was able to hide it for so long because, thankfully, Mia looked like me. She looked nothing like Tom, but because she resembled me so much, nobody ever suspected anything. Friends and family would always laugh about how our son Ben was a carbon copy of his father, while Mia was a carbon copy. People would joke that she was a copy of me. Each time it was mentioned at family gatherings, I forced myself to laugh along. When Mia was born, I was relieved because her features were so similar to mine. It was almost like fate was giving me a chance to keep my secret safe. I was initially glad because, as she grew older, her facial features still mirrored mine. Tom never questioned her paternity. He was just overjoyed to have a daughter. He would often comment on how lucky he felt to have such beautiful children, and that each one was perfect. I guess you could say it was a blend of us. Of course, the guilt never went away, but I learned to live with it. I told myself that the affair was just a mistake, a moment of weakness that didn't define me or my marriage. Vince and I never spoke about it again, and we maintained a careful distance to avoid any suspicion. Life moved on and I dedicated myself to being the best wife and mother I could be, because I was hoping that my love and devotion would make up for my betrayal. Years passed, and the secret became a part of my daily life. It was like a shadow that followed me. But I never found out. I would watch Tom playing with Mia, teaching her to ride a bike, helping her with her homework, and my heart would ache. He was an amazing father, and Mia adored him. She would always run to him when she needed comfort or when she had exciting news to share. So I was even surprised she ran to me first when she found out. How did Mia find out? It all started with a harmless curiosity. Mia wanted to do one of those ancestry DNA tests, just to see if we had any other cultural backgrounds apart from being white. She was interested in learning more. I didn't think much of it at first. It seemed like a fun way to learn about our family history. Looking back, I should have known there could be problems, but I didn't handle it properly. It all started when Ben did his DNA test first. He was excited about it and shared his results with us, which piqued Mia's interest. She thought it would be cool to see if there were any surprises in her background as well. I should have been more cautious, but I never imagined that those tests could uncover so much. Mia's results were the darkest secret. She came to me, thankfully, and not her father. She was confused because her results were totally different from Ben's. It didn't make any sense to her as they were supposed to be full siblings. She expected their genetic makeup to be somewhat similar, but the differences were significant enough to raise questions. Mia wanted an explanation at that moment. I panicked. Maybe I should have come up with a plausible story, but instead I blurted out the truth. I told Mia that Tom wasn't her biological father, then I told her about the affair with Vince, and how she was conceived. I felt really guilty and scared, so I made her promise not to tell anyone, especially not Tom. I thought I could handle it if Mia and I kept it a secret. She was really shocked and confused. She didn't know how to process the information, and I could even see how hurt she was. I tried to comfort her and explain that Tom loved her, and that nothing needed to change between them. I could see that she was struggling with it, and I hated myself for putting her in that position. I still feel bad about that. I should never have told her. I thought we could keep it between us, but I didn't realize how much it would affect Mia. She started acting out, becoming more withdrawn and distant from Tom. I tried to reassure her, but I could see it was too much for her. The secret was too much for her to bear. I tried even harder to support Mia, and she started to come to terms with it. At least, that's what I thought. She even began to secretly mock Tom, seeing him as weak. She didn't really see him as her father. She thought he couldn't tell her what to do. It was really sad to see her change her attitude towards a man who had loved and raised her as his own. But I was still hoping that our secret would stay safe. That hope was destroyed a week ago when Mia had a sleepover with her friends. One of them was struggling to come to terms with the fact that she was going to have a stepdad. Mia reassured her friend and teased Tom a bit. She told her not to worry, saying that having a stepdad was like having a dad with all the good stuff. But without the authority, since they weren't real parents, she went on to Tom, saying she never listened to him anymore ever since she found out he wasn't her real dad. Mia had no idea that Tom was in the hallway and overheard everything. His face turned white and he looked like he had been punched in the gut when he came back to the bedroom. The realization that the daughter he adored and raised wasn't biologically his really hit him hard. Tom stood there for a while and then knocked and told Mia that he had heard everything. Of course she was shocked and tried to laugh it off as a joke. Or at least that's what she told me. Tom didn't say a word, he just turned and walked away, leaving Mia and her friends in stunned silence. Mia was distraught. She hadn't meant for Tom to hear her, and she hadn't fully understood the impact her words would have. She came to me in tears, asking for my help, but I was just as lost as she was. I found him later that night sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the wall. The silence between us was suffocating. I could literally feel the pain and betrayal in his eyes. I guess I knew then. I could tell that our lives were never going to be the same again. I tried to explain and apologize, but Tom couldn't even look at me. He felt completely betrayed, not just by me but by Mia too. The daughter he loved so much had mocked him behind his back, questioned his authority and even the bond they shared. It was a double blow for him. Everything is just crazy at the moment. I fully expected Tom to kick us out, but he hasn't yet, which is good news. Ben is confused and scared. He doesn't understand what's happening and why his family is falling apart. Mia, despite her bravado, is heartbroken and guilty. If anyone has been through something similar or has any advice on how to recover from it, please share. I'm looking for guidance on how to navigate this situation and rebuild my family. Update: I guess I jinxed myself. Many of you were really critical in the comments and said there was no going back. You were also surprised that my husband hadn't kicked us out. Thanks for that. He kicked us out yesterday, and I regret making this post because it seems like it's jinxed us. I thought things were going to be good. I thought that since my husband hadn't kicked us out immediately, he was willing to work on things, but no, He just wanted to confirm that Ben was his. So, Tom did a DNA test, and once he had the results, he finally called us for a family meeting. He said there was no need to exclude the kids because Mia already knew, and Ben deserved to know the truth as well. Then, Tom asked me who Mia's father was. At first, I was terrified to tell him, but he insisted on knowing, so I finally revealed that it was his best friend, Vince. Tom looked like he had just been shot. The betrayal in his eyes was heart-wrenching. He then asked me to explain everything to Ben. I turned to Ben and told him that I had lied, and that Mia wasn't his full sister. Ben was shocked at first, but then he got angry at me and called me a liar and a betrayer. He then stormed out of the room. I wanted to go after him, but Tom wouldn't let me. He said Ben needed time to process everything. After that, Tom told me he was kicking Mia and me out of the house. He said we had a few hours to pack our things. He told me that Ben would stay with him because Ben was not a child and deserved stability. I couldn't argue because I knew Ben wouldn't want to come with me and that he was better off staying with his dad. I tried to reason with Tom, but he wasn't having it. Mia was in tears, blaming herself for everything. She tried to reason with Tom, but he wouldn't even look at her. I had to call my dad to come pick us up. My parents are pretty shocked at what I've got to take responsibility for everything that's happened. I've been at my parents' place for about a day now and I'm really distressed. Ben won't pick up the phone and even Tom won't answer my calls. I feel like my world is falling apart, and I don't know what to do. I know I've made some terrible mistakes and I'm paying the price for them, but seeing my family fall apart is more than I can bear. I'm really struggling at the moment. If anyone has any advice on how to make amends or at least try to fix some part of this mess, please share. I'm really desperate for any help or guidance. I know I shouldn't be updating you, Reddit, but I don't know what to do. I need somewhere to unwind, so I'm just going to continue using Reddit as I've been getting a lot of questions about this, so I thought I'd share the answers here. Vince doesn't know about this whole situation yet. I don't think Tom has confronted him or told his wife because Vince would have probably messaged me if he knew. Also, Tom says he wants to divorce me. He doesn't want custody of me. He says he's not going to pay child support. He says he's lucky I'm not suing him for paternity fraud. He wants his name taken off her birth certificate and is adamant about not having anything to do with her. This part is tearing me apart because, despite everything, Tom has been the only father Mia has ever known as far as I know. He hasn't told our friends yet. I'm sure he would have heard something if he had. Right now, it feels like we're living in this strange limbo where everything is falling apart, but the outside world remains oblivious. I dread the moment when this becomes public knowledge and I have to face our friends and colleagues. I also didn't specify in my first post, but I was a stay-at-home mom. I've become a stay-at-home mom. I've been a stay-at-home mom since Ben was born, so I haven't worked since then. This makes things even more complicated because I have no job, no income, and nowhere to go apart from my parents' house. Mia still blames herself for what happened. She keeps apologizing to me and crying, saying that if she hadn't done the DNA test or if she hadn't told her friends, none of this would have happened. It breaks my heart to see her like this, and I don't even know how to comfort her. I know that my actions are the root cause of all this pain. I'm still trying to reach out to Ben, but he won't pick up the phone. He's hurt and angry and I don't blame him. Tom still won't answer my calls either. I feel completely isolated and depressed by the consequences of my actions. I know I've made terrible mistakes and I'm paying the price for them. Update: I'm using Reddit as a sounding board again because I am depressed and I don't know what to do. I feel it seems like everyone is against me. My parents are against me and think that I am totally at fault. They have also gone behind my back to talk to Mia about this whole thing. I've been trying to keep it on the down low, and I've been trying to convince her that Tom still wants her. However, my parents have now told Mia that Tom doesn't want her and is trying to take his name off her birth certificate. Mia was completely devastated by this news and is now even more angry at. She blames me for what happened and says that if I hadn't cheated, she would still be Tom's daughter and none of this would have happened. It's really upsetting to see how much pain she's in, and I know it's all because of my mistakes. I'd really appreciate any advice on how to handle things. I can't afford therapy, so I'm completely dependent on my parents. Tom emptied our joint accounts after he kicked me out of the house. Right now, they're housing us, but they're not exactly supportive. They keep reminding me of how much I've messed up, which is making everything worse. I've tried to explain to Mia that Tom's actions are not her fault. He's reacting out of anger and hurt, but she's struggling to accept that. Oh, Reddit, you're back again. I'm sorry, but I guess I should have known that Tom wouldn't keep things hidden for long. He has finally spilled the beans to everyone. I even had to turn off my phone because I was getting so many calls. He told everyone, including Vince's wife, that she messaged me and was furious. She swore at me, called me horrible, a witch, and used many other hurtful words. I can't blame her for being angry after all. I betrayed her trust too. Vince, however, hasn't reached out to me at all. Then I started getting messages from my friends. They were texting me all sorts of things, I was trying to keep up with what was going on and why I cheated. But when I replied, they started calling me out, asking questions, making accusations, and expressing shock. It was all too much to handle. I eventually had to turn off my phone because I knew they all supported Tom, and I would probably be bashed if I picked up or even replied to their texts. It's like my entire world is crumbling around me, and I have no one to turn to. Hey Reddit, it's me again. It's been a few weeks, and I'm sorry for the radio silence. I've been really busy recently, but I'm finally back to give you guys an update. First of all, I've been looking for a job because I've realized that there's no coming back. Tom is not going to forgive me, he's not going to forget that I cheated, and he's not going to take Mia and me back. It was hard to come to terms with that, but I finally accepted it. Job hunting has been really difficult, especially as I don't have much experience and I haven't worked in almost 15 years. My parents advised me to start with low-paying jobs first, as finding a job after such a long gap is really challenging. I've been looking for paying jobs first, as finding a job after such a long gap is really challenging. They have a point, and at this time I am desperate for anything, so I will take whatever job I can get. I've applied for several positions, but the responses have been discouraging. Still, I keep pushing forward because I know I need to. I'm trying to rebuild my life for Mia and myself on a brighter note. Ben has finally started talking to me. He's picking up my calls, and even came to see me and Mia. Mia was over the moon to see him, and clung to him the entire visit. Ben told me that while he hasn't fully forgiven me, he is starting to come to terms with what happened. He said that although he doesn't really see me as a sister anymore, he still considers her family, because she is the only sister he has known his entire life. I was disappointed by his words, but I have no choice but to accept them. I messed things up in the first place. I've also had to cut off communication with my friends. They've chosen Tom over me, so I blocked them. I know I was wrong, but I don't want people in my life who are going to be mean to me and constantly remind me of my mistakes. So, that's pretty much it for now. I've been trying to make it up to Ben. I'm trying to make it up to Ben. He can't come around as much as he used to, but he does try. Tom doesn't want us back, but at least he lets Ben come to see us. The only form of communication Tom has had with me is messaging to tell me that I will be served divorce papers soon. It's been a tough road, and I don't know what the future holds. I'm taking it one day at a time, but I'm not sure what the future holds. If anyone has any advice on finding a job after a long hiatus, or how to cope with this new reality, please share. I'm open to any help or guidance. To those who keep messaging me and spewing hate, please get a life. Update: Hey Reddit, I finally got served and it's been tough. The divorce is now in full swing. I signed the papers because I didn't want to give Tom any more trouble. I take responsibility for this. I am hurt and want to work this out, but it seems like Tom does not want to work things out, so I have to sign the papers. Things have been a bit difficult. Mia tried to get in touch with Vince and even his wife via Facebook, but they didn't respond. They did, however, message me to let me know that they were going to work things out, and that they didn't want any communication or relationship with Mia. I think it's a bit cruel of them to reject her, but on the bright side, I did hear that Tom fired Vince, so now he's jobless. His wife can only pay the bills for so long before she'll get tired and dump him and file for. I spoke to Mia, who was understandably upset. She told me that she just wanted to know her real dad, since Tom no longer wanted her. It's really tough to see her going through this pain, and I feel so guilty for being the cause of it all. On another note, I'm still looking for a new job. I have a few interviews lined up, so hopefully I'll get a job soon. I keep getting hate comments and hateful DMs, which I've tried so hard to ignore. It's really exhausting. And I wish people would just, I'm going to stop posting on here because I don't want to be reminded of my mistakes all the time. I'll give you all a final update after the divorce is finalized, and then I'll be done with this account. Thanks to those who offered advice and support. I'll be back to give you a final update, and then I can finally move on from this chapter of my life and delete this account. Thanks for reading. Update. Hey Reddit, I told you guys that I'd give you a final update, and that I'm here to give you that final update before I delete this account. It has been exhausting to say the least. On a positive note, I did find a job. It's low paying, but it's enough. I'm probably going to save for a while, gain some experience, and even try freelancing so I can get a better job with better pay. My ultimate goal is to move out and have a place where my daughter and I can live on our own. The divorce has been finalized, and it was as brutal as I thought it would be. I didn't even pay for a lawyer, not like we could afford it. I knew it would be a waste of time in my state. Cheating automatically disqualifies you from having custody or any form of alimony. It's a huge deal here, so I didn't get alimony or anything else. The divorce was pretty fast and easygoing, except that technically under the law, Mia is still considered Tom's daughter. He is in the process of getting his name changed, but it's a long process. Tom got custody of both Mia and Ben, but he refused to take Mia in. He told me right after we finalized the papers at the courthouse that he wasn't taking Mia with him. He said she wasn't his daughter, and that he would be getting his name off her birth certificate. Even though the court granted him custody of both our kids, Mia is with me, and Ben lives with him. He does come to visit me on weekends, and we have a good relationship. I don't think he'll ever forget what I did. I was also supposed to pay child support, but since Tom earns way more than I do, and my income is very small, I was allowed to pay very little. Tom told me not to worry about it, as he didn't need the money. I'm just relieved the divorce has been finalized. Tom doesn't really talk to me except about Ben. He doesn't talk to Mia either. She has tried to message him and reach out to him, but he doesn't respond. I'm sorry, but he doesn't want to communicate with her. He has told her it's not her fault and he doesn't blame her, but he doesn't want to maintain any relationship with her. It was really intense with all the hate and everything. I think I'm just going to delete this account and take a break from Reddit in general once I do have more money. I will be taking Mia and myself to therapy, so that's something to look forward to. Thanks for reading, and goodbye.